Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 o'clock. We'd like to get started so we can wrap this up by 9 o'clock. If you would be so kind as to find a seat. My name is Stacey Harris. I'm the president of the Dunwoody Homeowners Association. We're all glad you can make it out tonight. Just a quick couple of things. Earlier in this building, congratulations to the Dunwoody High School volleyball team. They won their first playoff round, and they will play again on Tuesday against Heyward. And I don't know whether it will be home or away, but congratulations to them. If you've lived in Dunwoody for a while, you know that the Dunwoody Homeowners Association has been around for a long time. And we're starting our membership drive again next month. And I would just ask you to consider if you're a member, and if not, why not? Some of the things that we do in the community, the 4th of July parade. And for me, this past one was the most fun because it wasn't blazing hot. And we had so many horses and a sheep herding dog. And to me, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that. Light Up Dunwoody will be coming up next month. Always a tradition to kick off the holiday season. And this year we started Food Truck Thursdays, which are actually going on right now, although it's probably a little wet for them. And that has been a rousing success over at Brook Run Park. So we just are still actively involved in the community, and I would ask you to consider becoming a member again this year. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Don Boykin from the Dunwoody Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Stacey. As Stacey said, I'm Don Boykin. I'm chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, and we're very proud to be a co-sponsor for this event. As many of you know, the Chamber of Commerce represents the businesses in Dunwoody, but one thing that most people do not know is that we are the third largest concentration of office space and businesses in the state of Georgia. The third largest. We've got over 8 million square feet of office space. We have over 4.3 million square feet of retail space. It provides at least 70% of the revenue for the city of Dunwoody, which means all of our taxes, as property taxes, do not have to go up because the revenue comes from the businesses. So we are very happy and very pleased to be part of this event tonight and to be a co-sponsor. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce our fellow co-sponsor, Dick Williams of Dunwoody Crier.
I'm not Dick, I'm Stacey. But before Dick comes up, I wanted to go over the format of the forum tonight. Candidates will have 2 minutes for opening statements. They will have 1.5 minutes to answer questions, and 1 minute for closing statements. The candidates will all initially answer the same 3 questions, and then the moderator will choose, they will go by district, so the different districts will answer different questions. We hope to keep things rolling and keep it lively. Dick?
Thanks, Stacey. Don Boykin mentioned office space. I want to start out by scooping myself. It was announced late this afternoon that State Farm Insurance has chosen Dunwoody as one of 3 national headquarters for their operations. And as the city said today, where they're going to go, which is at Hammond Drive and Perimeter Center Parkway, will become kind of a brand new main financial center for much of Georgia and the southeast. State Farm could put thousands of employees into that area they bought. And just to help you orient that a little bit, State Farm will become Checkers and Fugger, and a lot more behind it, but that's huge. And I think that's a nice way to kick this thing off tonight. The elections here are fun, but they're also important because we deal with things like bringing a major national company like State Farm to Dunwoody. So read the crier, the edition of this obligatory commercial, the issue of Wednesday, September 30th, in which we will have October 30th, in which we will have an election guide and maps and all that stuff. Most of you know for whom you're voting. Let me introduce to you the candidates in order. I don't want to step on a camera here. District 1 goes first. This is Henley Shelton. Lives in Redfield. This is the incumbent, Denny Shortal. This is the guy who has not responded to a single email from the crier. He's listed as William A.J. Mercier, will move on. This is Jim Riticher, Riticher. who is running in District 2, where there's no incumbent. And this is Heyward Wescott, who is also running in District 2. Here in District 3, we have Sam Eads and the incumbent, Doug Thompson. All right, now let me introduce the moderator. He's Tony Thomas. I've known him for ages and ages when he was a Cub reporter at 640 WGST. Then he moved on to Fox 5, where he and I combined on some election coverage. And now he's made the big dog, WSB. So, the dominant station in town. Tony, I turn it over to you.
The first question will be going to everybody. We'll opening statements first? Okay. And who do you want to start with? We'll start this way and work our way down for opening statements.
I am Henley Shelton, Post 1, District 1 candidate. I am a former Vietnam veteran Marine. For any of you, thank you, but I did volunteer, but probably wouldn't do it again. And, but it's a pleasure to be here, and I thank everybody for the trouble they've gone to. And I'm running actually because I feel like we had a mandate from the city, and that was basically to keep our taxes low, public safety, stop the overdevelopment, and get our roads and paved and our potholes fixed, and at a greater accelerated rate than what DeKalb County had been doing. So I investigated, and I did not feel that it was adequate, so I got involved, and I just it's kind of mind over matter. You know, they kind of take an attitude, they don't mind, and we don't matter. So anyway, thank you for being here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow citizens. I'm Denny Shortal, and I've been your District 1 representative and your Mayor Pro Tem since December 2008. I'm a retired Marine Brigadier General. I too was in Vietnam, and I spent 32 years in the Marine Corps. I'm a member of the St. Jude Catholic Church for the last 26 years, and I'm a member of the All Saints Knights of Columbus Council. I'm also married to Mercier Shortal, who is right there. For 44 years, we have 3 great children and 4 superb grandchildren. My number one accomplishment since I've been in the city, since I've been elected, is that I have done what I told you I would do when I was elected. And my goals were consistent with what you and I set as our goals when we started the drive for cityhood. Those goals were a small and efficient government, a detailed land use plan and zoning plan for our city, keep taxes low, have a reserve fund, and a balanced budget, a right-sized police force that will adequately protect our citizens, to enhance our parks and recreational facilities, and a system of fixing our infrastructure across the entire spectrum, from fixing the worst first. As a proven fiscal conservative and an independent thinker on the council, here are some of the things that I have done. I propose a multi-supplier contract for city services versus the single supplier contract that saved over $3 million a year and continues to save $3 million annually. It also increased the services. I proposed and got approved by the council a minimum of 4-month operational reserve. I led the opposition against the $120 million bond debt and a 94% tax increase. I recommended the use of laser trucks to fix our roads. I thank you for being here tonight, and I thank the sponsors.
Good evening, everybody. My name is William Mercier, and first off, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight. It's great to see you, even with the rain out there. It didn't keep you away, and honestly, this is one of the events in a campaign that truly makes this journey worthwhile, to get to see all of you and have you here to hear what we have to say this evening. So it's great to see such a great turnout. My wife and I, just to tell you a little bit about me, my wife and I relocated down to the Atlanta area in 2011. And my wife, who's an Atlanta native and a Georgia Tech alum, really, that's right, I'm a Jacket fan by default. I hope that doesn't upset anybody right off the bat. But She introduced me to this community because she remembered it, and from when she lived here in Atlanta, and coming through, it sold itself. It's such a wonderful community, and it's such a great atmosphere for families, and that is a big reason why my wife and I chose here. Is this is a place we could see raising our family, and hopefully even having our grandchildren here with us as well. I got into this race because the one thing I noticed rather quickly is there seems to be a little tension in city government right now. There's some hot button issues out there, and there's some people who are really happy with what's going on, and there's some people who are extremely upset with what's going on. The only thing I was not picking up on is it didn't feel like there were a lot of solutions being brought to the table. And we do have some problems and some issues we need to tackle, and it is great to have goals for our city to make it better and to enhance our quality of life. But I wanted to bring some real solutions to the table, see if we couldn't kickstart a dialogue and start moving forward. And thank you again for coming tonight, and I look forward to talking to you some more. Thank you.
My name is Jim Riticher. I'm the candidate for District 2. My wife and I are 30-year residents of Dunwoody. My son was raised here, and I have a strong investment in this community. As I travel around Dunwoody and talk with people across District 2, I find many residents who are very angry about their city government, a government they feel is out of touch with the voters. They do not like the way their city is being run. I share their concerns, and the reason I decided to run was to do something about it. It's the American way. I've been gratified and humbled by the many residents who have thanked me for what I'm doing. While there is no candidate with an eye for incumbent in the District 2 race, I know that my principal opponent, Heyward Wescott, was the mayor's campaign manager 2 years ago and has been his chief of staff since. If you like the status quo on the council, I believe he would represent another vote for Mayor Mike Davis. Dunwoody agrees there is much to not like about the status quo. At the current rate, our city road repaving program will take over 20 years to complete. We are treading water, not catching up. The Dunwoody Village Parkway project takes away 2 lanes, the second lanes make a great bicycle lane, and removes the tree-lined center median. There are alternative plans that keep the 4 lanes and the center median and avoid congestion. Project Renaissance is destined to cost the taxpayers millions in a sweetheart subsidized deal given too quickly to a financially weak developer. We have a city council that is on record as not wanting the very smart people of Dunwoody to serve on a parks committee to help set parks policy. Of course, smart people is part of the city tagline. We spent $130,000 to design a roundabout without first attempting the practical recommendations of the smart neighbors. The city planned to take away large sections of property from longtime homeowners at the intersection of Mount Vernon and Vermac without first talking to them, then telling them, quote, "There's nothing you can do about it," end quote. The list goes on and on. At meeting after meeting of the city council.
Thank you. Time's up. And Mr. Wescott, under the rules, your name was mentioned. You'd have 30 seconds to respond to that. We'll give you 2.5 minutes. Add that 30 seconds to your opening here.
All right. I first want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. In addition, I would like to thank the DHA and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this, as well as I'd like to thank the Crier for being the sponsor. I think tonight you're going to actually get to hear some different tones and some different facts. I encourage everybody to actually look into the facts and look in to see if those facts are true, and also listen to the tone of my opponents and the opponents that are here. I've been called an insider, and you know what? I'm proud that I'm an insider. I've been inside a dunk tank for lemonade days. I've been inside a soapbox derby car trying to get it ready for a race. I've been inside a bucket truck getting ready for the pole banners to go up for the 4th of July parade. I've been inside a float trying to get it ready for the 4th of July parade as well. I've actually also been inside this school trying to work to try to set up internships with the Chamber of Commerce, with the principal of this school. I've also been inside the farmhouse selling pies for the Donald Bannister house. So you can call me an insider. I'm proud to say that. I'm doing that because it's a better Dunwoody that I'm trying to look out for. And I've always been that way, and I've always believed that. We're a great city, and you're going to hear me say we too. I believe that we are one city and we're one community. We need to be able to come together. I want to be that candidate that is able to bring us together so we can communicate and get back on track. My name is Heyward Wescott, and I would appreciate your vote November 5th. Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I know you have very busy schedules, a lot of things to do, and I'm very glad to see all of you out here. I'm Sam Eads, and I'm a candidate for District 3. I'm an engineer and a business owner. I've lived in Dunwoody for 18 years, and I love this city. I voted for cityhood because I believed that it would allow us to have more input with our city government and more control over them, and allow us to control how they spend our tax dollars. The reason I'm running for council is I believe that our current council is out of touch with the citizens. As a matter of fact, my opponent has voted lockstep with the mayor on every major issue. Just 3 days ago, the council rushed through an approval of a zoning code rewrite right before the election. They were in such a hurry to get this done, they were rewriting parts of the code on the fly during the meeting. This rewrite allows for 3,000 additional multifamily units to be built in Dunwoody, which would upset the current balance of 10,000 houses and 10,000 multifamily units. This would drastically change Dunwoody and would have a huge negative impact on the school system. The council spent more time arguing about how many pets you could have than how many multifamily units that we could have in the city of Dunwoody. District 3 needs someone who will listen to the people and do what they want, including creating our own school system, keeping taxes low and providing for tax refunds, paving more roads, providing police protection, and controlling high-density development. I've knocked on a lot of doors in District 3, and I'm pretty clear on one thing. The city needs to communicate better with the citizens. I believe my technology skills would be a valuable asset to help with that. It's important to keep taxes low. We have a lot of fees, a lot of taxes disguised as fees right now, including the $55 to replace your garbage disposal. I think it's time for some new faces on the council and time to bring new ideas and better represent citizens.
My name is Doug Thompson. I'm the current city councilman in District 3 in Dunwoody. That's the east side of Dunwoody for those folks not familiar with the layout. I'm married. My wife Terry is here. Terry, can you raise your hand? We've been married for 22 years. 21 of those we've lived in the same house in District 3 in Dunwoody. We've raised a daughter who came up through DeKalb County Public Schools. She's currently a freshman in college. Kinsey, can you raise your hands? We're proud to call Dunwoody our home. I also own a business here. I've had a business in Dunwoody for the past 15 years. I know Dunwoody from all different angles, whether it's a parent, a husband, a property owner, or a business owner. As your city councilman for the past 3 years, I've concentrated my priorities on paving, parks, and police, the basics. If the city of Dunwoody can do those three things well, we'll succeed, and I think we have done well. Do we have a ways to go? Sure, but we've come a long way in those. But it's also important to me that Dunwoody be fiscally conservative. Under my watch on city council, we've had a surplus each and every year. We've got a surplus projected for 2013, and we've budgeted a surplus for 2014 as well. I'm Doug Thompson. I'm the current city councilman, and I would appreciate your vote on November 5th.
All right, now go to a question that will go to all of you. Each of you will have a chance to speak on this. Let's go to an issue, first of all, that hits Dunwoody hard. Sometimes it's mentioned as the number one problem, traffic. A lot of people probably got here right on time tonight because they were worried about traffic. What are some of your ideas to help solve that problem? We'll start with you.
Okay. Well, Dunwoody District 1 is unique in some of its problems, but one of the things that all the city has a problem with is the traffic. And one of the things that traffic can be alleviated by is by being smarter how we handle the intersections. If we take our lights and coordinate them If we adjust at different periods, and like up on Mount Vernon at night, why not make that flashing? Okay, a patrolman at Vermac and Womack could probably take care of a lot of the traffic problems during those 2 times in a day. But we're talking about, they're saying, going on about how well they've done, and the truth is I've gone door to door. The people are not telling me that. They're not satisfied with what they have tried to do. Dunwoody does have a traffic problem, and the biggest problem is coming out of the TCID where people go home, and they use us as a through route. I am not for making it easier for people to get through this city.
Good evening. Yes, without a doubt, we have a lot of traffic and we have a lot of cut-through traffic. As far as signals being synchronized, we already have a grant of about $1 million last year that we worked on, and we just approved the other night at the meeting another $1 million add-on for our signal synchronization. I think that will greatly help. In addition to that, what we need to do is improve our intersections across the spectrum here. And when we improve our intersections, we should only improve our intersections to the extent that is necessary. In other words, let's build a regular Chevrolet and not a Mercedes-Benz. And I think that's very important. We know the troubled intersections, we've got some plans, and we've got them in motion. It will take us a while to get them in motion. The first 2 intersections will go down next year. As far as keeping people out of here, sorry, I don't think we can do that. As far as putting the 3rd lane down the middle of Mount Vernon, I'm against that. Not only am I against having it in, I'm against it having it in our master transportation plan. And I would propose that we take that out of our transportation plan because you know the old story, if you build it, they will come. So the things we have to do, we signal, Henley was right, continue to work on the signals, we've done that. And then the next thing we need to do is enhance our intersections one at a time across the city. Remember, nothing that was done here for a lot of years until 5 years ago. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's continue. District 2. Some of your ideas to help solve the traffic issue. 1.5 minutes for each candidate.
Sure. Well, not to sound like a broken record, but definitely signal synchronization is good. I think also looking at certain intersections to put additional traffic light sensors would be an excellent option as well. Evaluating realistic possibilities for some of these intersections, I think, is what we really need to concentrate on. One of the big proposals I have is in Dunwoody is taking a fresh look at a lot of the plans and creating a large plan for this community. And part of that would be looking at the long-term goals. Where is it Dunwoody wants to go? Where do we want the development to be? Where do we want to just leave alone the residential neighborhood, put a nice new street through it, some street lights, and take care of it and go forward. I think putting a study together as we go forward, because we don't want to fix an intersection, then tear it up and have to fix it again and keep doing that through this city. So I think it's a combination of the here and now, synchronization of stoplights, maybe trying to get some additional stoplight sensors in at certain intersections. Long term, let's really see what we need to fix the problem and fix that particular problem and not make things worse by guessing.
All right, thank you.
Again, you know, we've got to have Dunwoody sensible improvements to intersections. I'm not interested in becoming a throughway for North Fulton and Gwinnett. We need to make sure the improvements we do make work for the residents and are sensitive to our high-quality residential community and don't disturb that to any great degree. We've got a lot of impractical solutions that have been proposed by the city staff and the council. Most recently, we have Mount Vernon and Vermac, where the council initially approved engineering for the beginning of 3-laning Mount Vernon in the first council meeting in July. They approved engineering for what was known as option 2 initially for that intersection improvement, and it called for 3-laning from Vermac to Vernon Oaks. There was enough hue and cry that we were able to stop it, but the council didn't listen on the front end, and it's critical we listen to the people, talk to them first, and not have abbreviated front ends of projects. We've got to define requirements, and that includes listening to the people on the front end. That's where the leverage is at to be a smart city. Thank you.
I moved to DeKalb in 1997, and as long as I lived here, they've not fixed one intersection. And since we've become a city, we still have not fixed one intersection. One of the problems we also have with a lot of our roads is there's water pipes that need to be replaced by DeKalb County. We're now going to be able to actually do that and handle that ourselves and send the bill to DeKalb County. That will improve some of the, and speed up the intersections that we got down the pike. One intersection that's coming around the corner is actually the Peeler, North Peachtree, and Tilly Mill intersection. And if you've ever tried to turn left on Peeler, that is actually very difficult because of the short span. That intersection actually mirrors the footprint of Roberts Drive, Spalding, and Dunwoody Club Drive. And it's going to be very similar to that, with 2 traffic lights that are timed, and that will probably be one of the first intersections that the city actually takes on. I serve on the board of directors of the DHA, and the DHA actually, when we were looking at Mount Vernon and Vermac, we voted against actually widening the road down to 3 lanes all the way down to Vernon Oaks. In addition, we voted against widening it from the Dunwoody Village all the way down to Jet Ferry and making it 3 lanes. So I think intersections are very important, and I look forward to being involved in correcting them. Thank you.
I think now that the city's started to see what the comprehensive transportation plan means to our neighborhoods, it's time to readdress that. That plan may work very well for the PCID area around Perimeter Mall, but what we're starting to find out is putting all these amenities on the road means that we're going to lose a lot of our trees. The problem is that the city council is paying for engineering studies and they're using the comprehensive transportation plan as their excuse for saying, well, that's the way we're going to do it. Instead of first going to the people that are affected and talking to them and figuring out, asking them, what times a day do you think the traffic is the worst? They don't do anything like that. They just go and say, this is what we're going to do, like it or lump it. And this is what I've heard from numerous citizens. I live in District 3 and I've talked to people around the intersection that he just spoke of. We've got to rethink that. It's obvious that we have to do something with the intersections. We've got to improve them. One of my problems with the intersection improvements they propose is they end up costing millions of dollars. Why can't we spend a little less money on each intersection and fix more of the intersections? I understand that you don't want to rework intersections over and over and over again. I'm an engineer. I completely understand that costs a lot of money. You don't want to do that. You want to have a plan for that. We need to fix the CTP. We've got to fix it immediately.
Let me address a few things that my opponent said. He said this city is spending millions of dollars on intersections. Let me tell you the truth. We haven't bid a single intersection yet. None. We've been here 5 years. We've got some in the works, but none have been bid yet. So to detail out how much money we're spending on intersections is just not speaking the truth. It's fear-mongering. Let me tell you how we can help solve traffic in Dunwoody. We can time our signals to where traffic flows better. We can improve our worst intersections to keep traffic flowing. Are we going to solve traffic in Dunwoody? No. It's bad in Dunwoody, it's bad in Sandy Springs, it's bad in Brookhaven, Peachtree Corners, it's bad across Metro Atlanta. But we can keep traffic flowing, which will keep from the backlogs on Mount Vernon and some of the other areas of town. Right now, we've got 11 failing intersections in Dunwoody. We're going to start the first one at the end of next year, and that's the one at North Peachtree, Tilly Mill, and Peeler. I'm hearing citizens say that that intersection needs to be repaired and improved and get traffic flowing through there. It's not doing it now. We've got a lot of other intersections in the pipeline. It's taken a while for us to get on firm financial footing to get them done, but we're going to do it.
All right, let's move to the second question. Second question for all the candidates here. We'll go by district, but reverse the order. So, Denny, you'll be first. How have you contributed to the betterment of your neighborhood, community, and the city of Dunwoody in the past 5 years?
I think the thing I've done is that, first of all, I was the co-chairman of Dunwoody that pushed the cityhood. And the overall contributions that I have done, I spoke about a little bit in my introduction. When we first became a city, I was working on the Dunwoody and I came to the first meeting, and we had a single supplier who supplied all the other services for the other areas around here. Came out with CH2M Hill with their initial estimate, and it was $2 million over what we could afford. And I said, well, how did this come about? So then they came around and they said, we'll work on that. So they came back in about a week, and it was $600,000 over, and the services were down to here, 2 rolls of toilet paper per year and those kind of things. But I said we can't afford this. I didn't come up with the original idea, but I went out to a couple of friends of mine. One of them's a Marine, by the way, and the other one's down in Weston, Florida, and he came up with a plan that we used, and that is the multiple contract plan for services here. And we bid that thing out with a lot of help from outsiders, including Don Boykin down here. And we came out with a $3.4 million savings the first year, and the services were at least 400% higher. That's one of the things I've done. The other thing I've done is I've listened to the citizens wherever you are, and I come over and I analyze what you're telling me. If I believe what it is, I'll side with you. All right. If I don't, I'll tell you why not.
The last 5 years in Dunwoody, I probably have not done near what the other people say they have. Quite honestly, I attended all the meetings and planning meetings for the city of Dunwoody. And quite honestly, after that was over and the in-crowd got in, I haven't received any invites to do anything. And I have been busy, though, with the Wounded Warriors. I've been busy with helping the Vietnam veterans that are disabled. I've been a Stevens minister, but the neighborhood itself, I have served and done well, and that's it. The only thing I can really say that's outstanding is I did sleep at a Holiday Inn Express the other night. Thank you.
Question again, how have you contributed to the betterment of your neighborhood, community, and the city of Dunwoody in the past 5 years? Let's go, Jim, you'll be first on this one.
Okay. Well, like many Dunwoody residents, I've been engaged in the business of business and leading my life. With that said, our existing council, who have given enormously of their time, has not really led the city in a way that many find acceptable. A great example of this gets to Project Renaissance again, where there are some of the belief that we have committed to building a bridge across the wetlands from Brook Run to the 19-acre plot. That's simply not the case. We are not firmly committed. It is not a requirement, and it would have been silly to do so since we don't know what that will cost. We need people on the council who understand business and won't get us into poorly thought out deals. And that's it.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is, how have you contributed to the betterment of your neighborhood, community, and the city of Dunwoody in the past 5 years?
That's what I thought it was. In 2009, I got involved with the Dunwoody Soapbox Derby. We actually got the Soapbox Derby flat off the ground. It was absolutely fantastic, and it's been going on every year in Dunwoody Baptist Church, Atlanta's parking lot. I'm also the co-founder of the Dunwoody Chili Cook-Off, which is a very fun event that took place during the Dunwoody Music Festival. Not to mention, I was also an integral part of the Dunwoody Music Festival and the Fall Festival. Recently, I've been involved getting a dunk tank and raising money for the Dunwoody Preservation Trust, and we've had a lot of fun getting the council members to sit in the seat and get wet, and that's kind of great too. My most recent accomplishment is focusing on schools. I believe schools is the number one important thing taking place in our community right now as we speak. And I'm working hard to try to get an independent school system along with Tom Taylor's bill, House Bill 486. Thank you.
I can still answer even though I haven't lived here 5 years yet, right?
As long as you've lived here, what have you contributed?
That I have. As it's been pointed out several times, my wife and I are relatively new to this community, but community service or community participation has been something that I've been involved with my entire life. From the community I grew up in, through my participation through the Boy Scouts and as an Eagle Scout leading community service projects, community there's no greater thing than a great community that is tight-knit and where everyone pitches in together, and we have such wonderful blessings as we do in Dunwoody. And I guess the big thing that I can point out right now is, I want to help the community get better, so I threw my name into the hat to run for city council to try to get a dialogue going and to try to address some of our problems and to give a fresh perspective to some of these issues that we're facing here in Dunwoody. So that's where I'm at right now.
All right, thank you. Let's move to District 3 and Bill Goodby first.
Yeah. Over the last 5 years, I've done a lot for the city of Dunwoody. Let's start off 5 years ago. I was on the Comprehensive Land Use Plan Steering Committee, which put the Comprehensive Land Use Plan in place for the city of Dunwoody. I've been on the City of Dunwoody Alcohol License Review Board. Now that's a fun one. I've served on the board of the Fontainebleau Swim and Tennis Club. I've been on the board of the Dunwoody Homeowners Association, and my firm has been a member of the Chamber of Commerce. That was before I was elected city council, but within the last 5 years. I've been a sitting city council member for the last 3 years. As part of that, I've served on the budget committee. I've served on the vendor selection committee, which selected our vendors, which we were able to save the city over $3 million on. I could probably go on, but those are the major ones that I've been involved in. I've been very busy.
When I contemplated running for city council, I knew this was going to be a question that came up, and I knew that I'm very light in this area. Look, I'm a volunteer on a board of directors of a nonprofit, which is not located in Dunwoody. But I've been focused on running several businesses for most of my life. As a business owner, I spend a lot of time doing that. Any of you who own businesses know it can be a 100-hour-a-week job, or on and on. But what I really had to think was, I started listening to people asking me about what I could do to help the city, and I realized that regardless of whether you think volunteering for 5 or 10 years, helping Dunwoody is a very important thing. I've been out talking to citizens, and I feel like I can really represent them. The important thing, I think, is really to listen to people, and that's what's frustrating to a lot of people in District 3 that I'm talking to, is people are not being listened to. And I'm a very good listener, I'm a problem solver, and as I said in my opening statements, I love this city. I have no desire to move. I plan on living here as long as I'm alive, and I want to do my part to help the city. And I've certainly been spending a lot of time talking to a lot of you, and more importantly, listening to a lot of you. And I hope that means a lot to you. Thanks.
Thank you, candidates. Let's go to the third question. We'll go through all the candidates. We'll start again with District 1. Here's a two-part question in your minute 30. What would be your spending priorities, and what percentage of city revenue would you allocate to each of those priorities? One more time. What would be your spending priorities? Spending priorities. And what percentage of city revenue would you allocate to each of those priorities? Start with you.
I have said before, and I repeat it now, I want to see paving accelerated. I want to see the potholes and the streets fixed. So, without having the budget in front of me, I would say at least 50% of the budget would go towards fixing roads. I mean, And if other than paying employees and the basics, I would like to see a complete focus on that. I don't think we need any, at this point, investments into real estate. I don't think we ought to be getting into businesses that aren't run by the city. So I would have the rest of the money set aside to pay the bills of the city. And anything that was available, I would pay road.
Okay, well, basically, number one is police, and 30% of it's going to go to there. I think that's one of the main things to keep our people safe, our citizens safe, the right size police force so that all of us feel comfortable. There's no doubt in my mind that we have a police force now second to none. I know what it was before, and it was unsapped. The other thing is infrastructure. Not only roads paved, but also storm sewers, sidewalks, etc. And that is another high factor. I don't know the exact percentage of it, but we'll say, 20% there. At least, a large percentage of our revenues, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 35 to 40%, are going to go to personnel and contracts. So if you want to include that, that's one of the things you can include. I think the last thing is just potholes. Let me address potholes. I work for the highway department, believe it or not, and I used to work on an asphalt crew. I know a little bit about potholes. And if you see potholes around here that aren't fixed, you email me, and I'll make sure they get fixed, because I drive around a lot. And when we first took over the city, we were a pothole city. That is not the case anymore. But the one thing we have to ensure we do is also put money in reserve. Because you know what? Unless you have money in reserve and you have money in the bank, you can't do anything. So we must make sure that we keep money in reserve and have money in the bank for future rainy days.
Time is up. Thank you. We'll start for District 2 with Heyward. What would be your spending priorities, and what percentage of city revenue would you allocate to each of those priorities?
I'm going to echo what Denny said in terms of safety. I think one of the most important things a councilman can do is focus on safety for his citizens. I think we do have an excellent police force, but we need to make sure that they have the tools they need to keep the adequate level of safety that they've been providing us. And I think that's very important. The other thing is just basically infrastructure, as well, also what Denny said. We need to focus on our infrastructure, and that's not just paving roads. Paving roads is like just painting your house, and that's all you do. We gotta fix intersections. We gotta add turn lanes. There's some important amenities to infrastructure that we do have to add. As Denny said as well, there's stormwater we also have to focus on. And last is parks. We have inherited these parks, and now they're ours, and we're very grateful, but we need to add amenities to these. There needs to be bathrooms added to the nature center. There's bathrooms being put into the Renaissance Park right now. Parks are a great amenity that draw citizens collectively to each other, and I think parks are a key asset to our community. Thank you.
Well, it's one of the pillars of my campaign. I think this question kind of fits well into. By trade with Delta Airlines, I'm a planner. I'm in charge of planning. My team is in charge of planning for all of the maintenance to be done to the aircraft and to the engines of the 750 plane fleet. And so I guess just by my natural thought process, I think we really need to get down to a master plan for Dunwoody that the community buys into, that addresses our traffic needs, that addresses what we're going to do with our parks, what we want our parks to look like, and what we want them to have. And while the city does have a variety of transportation master plan, parks master plan, comprehensive land use plan, it's almost kind of like having 3 different maps that you're trying to follow. And I think we really need to look at trying to marry up a lot of these ideas, trying to bring some of these projects together and drive the costs down of a lot of these projects as well. Also, so we can plan for the future, so we know which intersections will be problematic in the near future. It's just not necessarily paying attention, but understanding exactly what the needs of the community are. Following that is community safety. I think we do have a great police force. We don't want it to deteriorate. And stoplights and crosswalks, well-marked crosswalks are important, I believe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Start?
Yep.
Okay, public safety has been the one part of the mandate for Dunwoody that has been reasonably well executed, and everyone should agree that we are hugely better off than we were under DeKalb County. I would say right now public safety should stay about the same, but we need to monitor that and make sure that Chief Grogan has the resources he needs to maintain the great services those guys have been providing. Beyond that, our city council and staff have been spending way too much money and time on Project Renaissance. It is a distraction from the business of government, and we cannot get into any more deals of that nature, and we've got to get through this one with as little financial damage to the city as possible. It was bad business getting into it, and it's distracting us from intersection improvements, stormwater infrastructure maintenance, and other key functions of government. On parks amenities, we also need to pay attention to that, but we need to be a little bit careful because we may have a $7 million windfall from DeKalb County. So until that shakes out, it would be prudent to wait until, to spend too much money in that area until we see the results of that lawsuit. Hopefully that comes through for us, and that'll be a great thing. Thank you.
All right, let's go to District 3 and Sam, you're first.
The city's been operating with a surplus every year, and that's really a good thing because that's actually required by Georgia law. But that doesn't mean that we're spending money on the right things. I do believe we're spending about the right amount of money on the police. They're requesting a crime analyst, and I think that might be something that we want to look at. I think that it's important to work to fight crime in a smart sort of way. Personally, I would love to see criminals in Georgia know that they are not welcome here. And I think we really need to do whatever it takes to make that happen within reason. Obviously, we can't spend all of our budget on that. Everybody knows that's talked to me that I think we need to be paving more roads. Now, my opponent pointed out that we haven't spent money on intersections yet, but we're about to spend $2.4 million on Dunwoody Village Parkway for 0.4 of a mile. Why don't we spend that money paving other roads? I get that some of that money is grant money, but by the way, you and I all pay that grant money in any way, so we have to keep in mind that is taxpayer dollars. I would like to see with some of this, we keep talking about we're operating with a surplus, why don't we see a tax refund at the end of the year? Wouldn't that be a great thing? That would probably be a first for all. The biggest thing I've seen questions about is parks, and I think we really need to look at trying to get that $7 million for Burger Run, and that would really probably change our plan with the way we work with parks.
All right, thank you.
The question's on budget, and that's a very easy one for me because I've served on the budget committee, and we just got through discussing our budget. At our next city council meeting, we'll pass that budget. So I've looked at every line item in the 2014 budget. There's nothing to hide. It's online. You can look at every line item and see where the priorities are. I could probably talk for hours, but I know I've got 90 seconds. But generally, it's still back to paving, parks, and police. And we have run a surplus. I'll mention, I know my opponent mentioned a tax refund. There's been one guy in the history of Dunwoody that's made a motion for a tax decrease. Me. It went to a 3-3 vote. It didn't pass. So it's easy to talk about tax decreases. I'm the only one who's tried.
All right, now we're going to move to questions for each district, a different question for candidates in each poster district. Break things up. We'll start with District 2. And here's one that came from the audience tonight, just before we started, with no one comment. It's interesting. How can we trust you as a candidate if we haven't heard from you before the campaign? Well, you can go first.
Okay. That's a good question. And I say that because all of you have sat, many of you will say, because I don't know all of you have for a fact, but many of you have sat in this auditorium before and have heard candidates sit at this very table, offer ideas, goals to keep your taxes low. We're going to pave the roads. Communication will get better. Low density housing. I mean, it's almost, I don't want to say a diatribe, but it's been a constant theme that's come through here. So my campaign essentially has been coming to you. I haven't necessarily relied on you coming to these forums because things come up and you might miss them. I'm glad you're all here tonight. But as a taxpayer of this community, as one who supports the businesses in this community, I have many of the same concerns that you all have, which is why I'm trying to come to each and every one of your doors in District 2, introduce myself, and give you as much time as you need to ask questions and to let me know what your concerns are, because truly the most important opinion in Dunwoody is that of the citizens. And that's my goal as a candidate, is to take your concerns to City Hall and help address them in the most sensible way possible.
And Jim, your response.
Well, it's an interesting question because it's one I've been asked a lot when out on, canvassing neighborhoods and talking to the residents of Dunwoody, and a lot of them feel that they've had their representatives go back on their word, and they ask me exactly that. And all I can say is, I am not that guy, and I'm a man who stands by what I say, and it's that simple. Thanks.
I serve on many organizations and many boards, and I am well trusted within the community. As a kid, I was called Opie Taylor because I had red hair. But I am a very trustworthy person. If I say I'm going to be at a meeting, I'm at that meeting. And if I say I'm going to do something, you have my word that I will do it. I will plan to serve and do the same commitment as councilman for District 2, for all the citizens of District 2 and all the citizens of Dunwoody. Thank you.
All right, now a question for the candidates in District 3. If we were to receive a multi-million-dollar settlement for DeKalb County for Brook Run, how would you spend it? Doug, you're first.
That's an easy one for me. We've got the Brook Run Master Plan in place, and it calls for numerous developments within Brook Run Park. If you kind of start from the entrance coming in, there'll be some tennis facilities to the left. There'll be some fountains, and the theater will remain as you go on past there. There will be some basketball courts and beach volleyball type facilities near where the new dog park will be. And then if you get all the way past where the dog park is, those will be play fields, not organized sports, but those will be back there. Obviously, the multi-use trail will probably get built before we receive the funds from DeKalb County. But I think, again, I think if you want to look to where Dunwoody will head with the money that we hopefully receive from DeKalb County, I would look to the master plan.
That's a great question, and it's very pertinent to District 3 because I've talked to a lot of people about that. I've talked to numerous people with friends of Brook Run. I'm very concerned about master plans because I think a lot of us were asleep at the switch when the master plans were first done. I think the very first thing we would need to look at is let's readdress the master plan. And find a balance for everybody. And the city talked about at the beginning of the year having a citizen board to manage the parks, and it was resoundingly defeated. And we've been doing what they wanted to do for the last 9 or 10 months, and it's not working because I go to Brook Run and they planted bushes that died. They did a multi-use trail, and there's trash next to it. We know we can't maintain what we have now. We need to look. I think there's a lot of citizens that are passionate about that park and other parks in Dunwoody, and I think they need to be involved a lot more. That's no secret. Everybody knows I think the citizens need to be involved more. Absolutely.
All right, and a question for District 1 candidates, and Denny, you'll be first to answer this one. Today, Dunwoody City Services are provided by 7 different vendors. If you were on council, or as you're on council, what would you change, if anything, in the contracting managing model?
Well, first of all, I think, 7 is a lot, and but it's been manageable. It still is a tremendous cost savings. But what I would change, if anything, is to watch each particular aspect of each contract and to make sure that we're getting the personnel and the services out of that contract. We've got some very good vendors, but we've lost a couple of good people here lately, and that bothers me. The other thing is, I think a couple of the contracts are probably a little bit on the high side. In other words, I think they're bloated a bit. We don't need as many services out of that. Marketing is one of them. So I think some of the things that we have to look at is, number one, we have to look at the contract itself. The best way you do that is when you're interviewing somebody with a contract, you look across the table and you look into their eyes and you can see what the heck's going in their mind. Not many people can fool you when you look into their eyes. The first group of contractors we had were fabulous. They came back, they sat there, and they said, we want to change this. They changed it for us. They complied with what our wishes were. I think right now, I think a lot of the things that we have going on need to be taken a hard look at on the budget, and I think they need to be thinned down a little bit or lowered on the things that we need, and also the cost.
Thank you. Time is up.
Well, let me lay a little groundwork first, and that is this. As we became a city, there was a debate whether we wanted to do a lot of services ourselves or take them in-house or use someone. I'm personally for outsourcing. One of the things you need to do is vet the people you're going to work with. And I agree, sitting across the table and looking them in the eye works. It really does. But they're not going to sit across that table from me until they've passed a vetting process and I really know what they deliver. Give you a case in point. How many of you know about the fiasco on Mount Vernon Highway there by Dunwoody Station and right in there? And the whole mess up with the thing and everything. Well, the contractor on that blamed it on his asphalt supply and whatever else. But the truth is, we had a big mess up from a contractor. The other night, it was presented again to use this guy or this company to pave the parkway, but this time they won't make a mistake. Oh, really? You know, first time, shame on them. Second time, shame on me. You sit there and allow something to come up like that. So that's where I stand on that.
Another round of questions pertaining to each specific district. And let's start with District 3 on this one. The question for you, and we'll start with Sam first on this one. What is your intent to build up and encourage business in the area of Dunwoody nearest Peachtree Industrial? How will you bring its standards up to match the rest of Dunwoody?
Well, as far as Peachtree Industrial goes, most of the businesses there are not in the city of Dunwoody. Tillyville area is actually all of Doorville, so I'm not quite sure what control we would have over that. The liquor store and Texaco and all that, that's all in Doorville. We need to be business friendly in general throughout the city. I was talking to somebody, a resident of District 3 yesterday, and they said that there's been multiple stop work orders on a karate studio in the park, in the village, in the Dunwoody Village. We need to work with the businesses to be business friendly. We need to make sure that these processes are streamlined, so things don't take a long time. Why do things take 2 and 3 months, which is what I've heard from business owners. Why do things take 2 and 3 months when they should take, a month or less? Obviously, businesses are very important to the city of Dunwoody because they provide the majority of the revenue to the city, the majority of the tax revenue to the city. So it's very important to stay business friendly, absolutely.
And again, that's a great question for me because that's a passion of mine. I'm the District 3 local rep, and our side of town doesn't have the same design standards as some of the other sides of town. People always say, what do you think about Dunwoody Village Parkway? And I'd say, well, if we were going to spend $2.4 million to repay or redo Winters Chapel or Peachtree Industrial, the citizens would be thrilled. You know, the issue we've got for our side of town is getting it to the standards of District 1 and District 2. What I've done in that process is I know the local Peachtree Corner City Councilman, Phil Sott. You know, we're friends. I've met with the Gwinnett County folks. We worked together to get sidewalks put in over there. We've talked about putting a joint master plan in place. I've got our mayor sold on it. I've got Peachtree Corner's mayor sold on it. It'll take some time. But that's an area that really needs some economic development. The Walmart coming in over there, I'm not for Walmart, I'm not against it, but I can tell you that that's a first start to making that area nicer. We've also seen Empire Pizza come across, which is a wonderful restaurant. That area is changing. We've got to keep it going, and anything I can do in that area, I am all in favor. But we've got to work with Peachtree Corners in Gwinnett County.
Questions for District 1? And I believe Henley will start on this one. What are your thoughts on variation between the codes for Dunwoody Village and perimeter CID market? How do you think this affects business in that area?
If I understand the question correctly, you're talking about the codes and the permits and all that go with it. And we're suffocating the little businessman and the homeowners with things. I've got right here for you this, and this came directly today from the city of Dunwoody. If you remodel a 100 square foot bathroom, it's $25 admin fee, $30 baseline fee, $50 optional completion certificate. If you want to resell, you have to have it. And it's a total of $105 for the homeowner. Now, the subcontractor is $30 per subcontractor, and the total fees that'll come to remodel a bathroom equals $225. Now, the people did not become a city to have these stifling, suffocating fees put on us. Yes, we need permits. The PCID is commercial, and they're probably the model for the United States. They have done a tremendous job of taking care of that area. They do a good job, and we need to keep it there. But there's a big difference between the little businessmen down here with Dunwoody Village and what they're trying to accomplish, and someone that has State Farm's money. So I say what we can do most to help business and small businessmen is stop all of these re-inspections. They got to pay $50 every time. And it runs, if you look on the city website, look how much we're collecting in fees just in re-inspections. Take the burden off the little people and the little business people. That's how I handle it.
Okay, first of all, the PCID is the economic engine of the Southeast in the United States. It is also a big economic engine, of course, to us. And it must remain that because of the funds that we collect there. And not only that, the jobs that are produced there, the jobs for our citizens that I hope that will continue to come in there, that will buy your house and my house as the future goes along. The PCID, maybe, and one of the things we're looking at, and we should look at, is to create an overlay district there, just like we do in Dunwoody Village. We have to have, if you will, rules that we keep that area a prime area. Dunwoody Village is also one of the icons of this city, and we also must keep that way there. And that's one of the reasons why we have to do improvements there to enhance businesses to come there. And they're coming there, even though some leave, there's always seems to be a replacement there. First Watch just opened. Marlowe's is open. I can go on down the list. We have a new Walgreens. We have a Fresh Market. So those are the things that we have to do there. There are some of the things that Henley's talked about here. But you know what? Every other city has those. Every other city has those. The one thing I want to tell you is about a $55 garbage installing fee that they brought up. We've never charged anybody that. But you have to have it for liability's sake. Because if something happens and they tell you about it, then you're liable.
Thank you.
Yes, you did. Oh, yeah. You absolutely used my name. John's Creek does not have it. I've got it on, friend's got it on recording right now if you'd like to hear it. So, as always, they tell us things that are not necessarily true, okay? I mean, let's face it. That's a broad statement. They have the ability to charge it. Take it off.
All right, let's move to District 2. And Jim, I believe you'll be first on this one. Question specifically for District 2. Much of the redevelopment efforts in Dunwoody will be focused on the Georgetown area. Define the area's greatest needs and what the city could do to encourage meeting those needs.
Well, unfortunately, the city missed a grand opportunity to bring in additional retail in that area by handing off the 16-acre plot and also the 19-acre plot to a nearly bankrupt, or actually a bankrupt at the time we were negotiating real estate developer in a sweetheart deal to end all sweetheart deals. We need that area, we need streetscape improvements for that area to encourage new business. That's the southern entrance to Dunwoody, and it's sort of gotten short shrift compared to Dunwoody Village. Instead we could have done something more Dunwoody sensible at Dunwoody Village Parkway and use some of that same grant money to spruce up that southern entrance to Dunwoody along the Chamblee-Dunwoody entrance to southern Dunwoody. We just have a story of misplaced priorities in my mind, and we need to get out of Project Renaissance as gracefully as possible and get on sprucing up that southern commercial entrance.
Just some technicality on the Georgetown project. When the city purchased it back in 2011, they purchased it for $5.5 million. And what they really did at that point is they removed 300 multifamily homes that were going to affect our schools, which is, in my opinion, fantastic. The Parks Master Plan was not completed at the time, and so this was not designated by the city to become a park. It was actually ripe for redevelopment, and that's what's happening right now with Renaissance. The whole combined acres, after it's all said and done, there'll be 35 acres, and the total cost will go down from 5.5 down to $4.5 million. That's fantastic. There'll be 110 homes, a retail module, and in addition, there'll be 4 parks on 21 acres that we will get to use. So I think the Georgetown project is great. Georgetown is also in need of a grocery store. In addition, it's also in need of some retail. We're starting to see that with Vino Venue and some restaurants like Farm Burger, but we could use more of that. And I think the Georgetown project is actually to launch that. And so I'm grateful for the Georgetown project. I want to be very clear on that.
Another round of questions specifically for each district. I'm sorry. I'm getting so anxious, I just went right past you. William, you're a minute and a half. Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. That's fine. I'll be brief on this because this is an issue. I think it is important, but I think this is one thing there's a lot of agreement on is Georgetown is a product of a poor plan. This is something that we kind of got ahead of ourselves on, and we really didn't have a focus or a focal point of what we wanted that area to be right off the bat. We had some ideas, and then that was kind of a moving target. And so I guess in short, the other thing is I think Mr. Wescott pointed out brilliantly is there's still going to be needs for that area too. The Georgetown plan did not take into consideration, I think, a lot of the periphery of that particular area, the needs of the citizens who already live there, the possible extra traffic, the things that need to be done in that particular area. So with it being a poor plan, I'm not a planning expert. I studied economics in college and minored in city and regional planning, and I have a ballpark understanding of how these things should be put together. And I guess bottom line is, we've got such a prime time location. I don't know why the city feels it needs to be a developer. I think we have plenty of people who want to come and do business here. Why don't we let them take the risk, pitch the ideas, and then let the citizens respond?
Thank you. Time is up, and Heyward will give you 30 seconds to respond to that.
I would like to point out that the city was awarded Outstanding Implementation Plan by the Georgia Planning Association just last week. That is fantastic. This is for this project. We should be proud for that. I'm proud for that. This is the southern gateway for our city. It's now becoming more walkable, it's becoming more livable, and it will become a destination just because of this project.
Thank you. Now we'll go to another round of questioning specifically for each district. We'll go to District 1. And Denny, I believe you're up first on this one. What is your opinion of the Dunwoody Village Comprehensive Plan?
Well, I was involved with that, so my opinion's pretty good. How about that? I think the main thing about it is that, you know, we took a look at the Dunwoody Village Master Plan, and what we tried to do was take care of many of the options that we did not have previously. Quite honestly, it requires a lot of, as I was just pointed out down here, outside money coming in. The city's not going to bankroll this, and that's for sure. And one of the things that I have pushed since day one here in the comprehensive land use plan down in Georgetown and in Dunwoody Village Plan is buffering. And I mean buffering the residential districts and protecting our residential districts in this city. We are a residential city, folks, and we must protect those. And one of the things we did there, the folks that live over there by Vernon North, is we put in a plan where they would have to go 2 stories, then 3 stories, and 4 stories, and as they built away from there. There is also a plan in there to make a park in there. Yeah, some of that is probably a little bit grandiose, but you know what? If you don't have a plan, if you don't think high, you'll never get there. So I think all in all, our plan was pretty comprehensive. I think we took a look at it. Some of the things maybe have to be tweaked, and as like I said, a plan is not something written in concrete. You can go back and revise the plan.
All right, thank you.
Well, first place, we had a plan that was funded, and that was to pave it, put sidewalks, and re-landscape the center median, which I favored simply because that's all private property over there. And those people want that kind of road put in. They want to put stores on the front. Let them. Because private money knows where to invest. That's why they do what they do. We're not real estate investors. Don't sit there and because somebody learned in school about urbanization that's what we're going to do. Because it's not necessarily what we're going to do. We can take what we have and fix it, and then if private money should suggest that, I can tell you as a councilman, I've listened very closely.
Let's go to District 3. And Doug, I believe you're up first.
Yes.
Question submitted before this started. What is your vision for Wind Hollow Park, and where would you rank it as a priority?
Sometimes I feel like I'm the only advocate for Windwood Hollow Park.
The red is Wind Hollow here, so that's why.
That's the closest park to me. When my daughter was being raised, my wife and I would go there and play tennis. It's still the only tennis court in Dunwoody. They had a playground there. There's been nothing done to that park in 30 years. It's awful. But I'm happy to announce that the 2014 budget for the city of Dunwoody has a playground replacement for that park. It's been a priority of mine and will continue to be a priority of mine. And it gets back to the other thing, which is if that park were where the nature center is, I don't think the citizens would put up with that. it takes an advocate for fighting for the parks over on our side of town. I've done it. I'll continue to do it. And my vision, again, it's only an 11-acre park. Part of it is very sloped, but you can have nice tennis courts. You can have a playground over there. It can be a nice community park. It'll never be a brook run park, but it'll service the neighborhood well.
I have a funny story about that. I was talking to some residents that live over in that area, and some of them said, well, we don't really want Dunwoody to do anything to that because we don't want anybody else to know we have a park over here. I think Doug touched on a really important point I think that I want to make here is that I don't want to focus all of our funds on Brook Run, because one concern I have is that we spend a lot of money in Brook Run, and then we get the $7 million from the cab, hopefully, fingers crossed, and then we have to spend all that money in Brook Run, but we've already spent a lot of money in Brook Run. I think it's very important to balance spending that money across all the parks in Dunwoody. I don't know that there's anything more to say about it than that.
Now for District 2.
Hello. I believe Doug gets a rebuttal because he said Doug.
Yeah, you did it like right. I mean, we need to fix that park up. We're going to do it. So, Sam's on the ball.
Now I'm ready.
Okay, thank you. For District 2, how would you balance the rights of property owner versus the rights of their neighbors and neighborhood?
I think that's very important because we're experiencing that right now with the intersection of Vermac and Mount Vernon. The neighbors right there at the intersection there have taped off the area. You probably have driven by it, and they've seen it. They've lined it all off, and they're showing the impact of that intersection if there's to be a turn lane added. I think we need to be very sensitive to all the neighbors in this community. Every road in Dunwoody is a residential street, and we need to remember that. So when we work on roads, we need to consider these factors. We can't just barge in and kind of go, we're putting a big intersection here. So I want to work diligently to mitigate the impact we would ever have on any intersection that we would install. It's important that we're sensitive to all the property rights of all the homeowners, even if it is right away. Thank you.
I guess one question to put in the back of your mind there is, as homeowners, is there anything as important to you, if not more important, than what you pay in taxes than the property you own? When the city goes forward with some of these projects, I mean, it has to be extremely careful with what it takes from you, what it's going to offer you. I mean, those are sensitive deals. And honestly, when you bought your house, you bought a certain amount of land, that's yours. That's your sovereign territory, if you will. And unless it is an absolute community safety type issue, I don't think that is something the city should just instantly jump to before trying to find other options at a particular intersection, or in terms of trying to, whether we're dropping power lines, extending water lines, or anything like that. I think that has to be a last resort, and on top of that, it has to be handled very sensitively, especially with many of the long-time residents that we have here in Dunwoody.
This goes to the issue of listening to the citizens before we go into a project, and we need to, not just look at this as the issue of the individual homeowner, but really how the whole community is affected. Because if we go into an intersection improvement like Vermac and Mount Vernon was originally gone into, we would all lose if major specimen trees were taken out for no good reason. And that's what we were heading down the road towards with that project. And we even had a city staff member tell the residents, this is gonna happen, there's nothing you can do about it. And that's just completely unacceptable. And this attitude comes from the top. The mayor is on record as saying Womack is not a residential street, which I'm sure was a surprise to all the residents on Womack. And we have got to have a council that listens to the people on the front end of projects. that's just fundamental in my experience in my engineering career that, you can't go into the project until that phase is really done right. And we are not getting it right now. And that needs to change.
Question for District 1. I believe Henley, you are first up on this one. For projects that were already approved by DeKalb County but not yet built, such as High Street, what is your understanding of the options the city may have in dealing with these developments?
Okay. First, it's a good question. It's a very important question. It highly affects the schools and other issues. But the understanding I have on High Street, it was originally going to be 3,000 apartments, 3 high-rise buildings, 30 floors for 2 and 40 floors for the last one. The DeKalb County went as far as to redistrict and put them so they would go to Austin. And of course, that's very attractive if someone's going to rent an apartment or a condo. But from my understanding, what I've been able to research, and I'm no attorney, but I've had a couple of them send me stuff, is we have an opportunity right now with the zoning rewrite to change one word in there, and it has to do with vested rights. And then we would have a case, possibly, they could come back and fight us, but you'll probably find with the State Farm going in where it is, they'll find a better use for that land than putting apartments. I am not against apartments. I lived in one up here when I moved up here. I'm against anything that brings more people into Dunwoody, whether it's zero lot lines or apartments, until we make sure the schools and the infrastructure are capable of handling. There should be impact fees in that district.
Well, the High Street project is a project that was approved in, I think, 2005 by DeKalb County, and the zoning was granted to the landowner. As you all know, zoning goes with the land. In other words, the only way it can change is if the landowner changes it. The best thing you can do on that is if you went in and told them you were going to change the zoning, they'd take us to court. We would lose in about the first 30 seconds. And we would pay their legal bills, our legal bills, and probably get a frivolous lawsuit. But what can you do? Well, the comprehensive land use plan has a couple things in there, if you read that real closely, about density in that area. That may hold water. We're not for sure. The second thing is that to negotiate with the people that are there, and including the PCID and including the landowners, to say, you know what? Do you want to be a good citizen here? Do you want to be accepted in our city? If you do, then, we would like to see you build not apartments, but owner-occupied condominiums. Owner-occupied condominiums. They are much more palatable. They take up more room. They have permanent people in there. I, too, am not against apartments, but you know what? We have enough apartments in this city, and we don't need any more. But if you have a vested right, and you want to build an apartment, and that's a zoning that you have, that's the only thing you can do is negotiate with them and try to change their minds on what is best for their community.
Continue with questions for each specific district. District 2, and I won't forget you this time, you're first. What is your opinion of the current code of ethics? Is there anything you would change?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
What is your opinion of the current code of ethics? Is there anything you'd change?
The code of ethics, I think right now it's definitely important to have in a city, and my only concern with it right now is that it has become a political football. And right, wrong, or indifferent, we're getting to a point, I think, in Dunwoody is every time we hear something coming up with the code of ethics, we instantly start to associate that with the person involved with it, or it's also, I think, from what I've heard from a lot of citizens, is it's starting to get to that point to where it's just, like I said, a political football. If you're mad at someone, you're not getting something in a negotiation, or there's some political capital to be gained there, we go and we take the person to the ethics board. I think it's very important to have a code of ethics like the one we have here in Dunwoody. I think it's even more important to be good stewards of that code of ethics and to treat each person equally under that code of ethics.
My understanding of the code of ethics is that currently all members are appointed by the mayor, which is, to me, a fairly significant shortcoming, because who listens to any ethics complaints concerning the mayor? And beyond that, I'm concerned with the use of ethics attacks as a means of political retribution, and that is something that we need to avoid at all costs here in Dunwoody. Thank you.
I think we can all agree that we're sick of ethics. I think that's one thing that we're kind of overhearing in the paper, and we're over having that come out. I think if there's anything to be in the process, we need to have a faster process. And the other thing I think we need to do is be aware that the mayor might select the candidates, but they're approved by council. But we do need a better ethics process, and we do need to review it. I think we've had a tough year going through ethics, and I think we can do a better job.
And Sam, you're first up for this round. Transportation. The city faces delays on paving major streets because DeKalb County Watershed Management needs to replace failing infrastructure. What is your understanding of the city's current paving plan, and what would you change?
I think, one attitude that kind of held in Dunwoody for a while was Dunwoody good, DeKalb bad. We're gonna sink or swim. If DeKalb sinks, we're gonna sink with them. We need to work with those folks in DeKalb, down in Decatur. We need to make sure that that we understand their plans, that we can figure out how to affect their plans, because I know that's going to be a big issue on North Peachtree, because they're talking about doing some water pipe work on North Peachtree, and that could affect our plans for 2014 to do the Tilly Mill intersection, the Tilly Mill North Peachtree intersection. It's absolutely important that we work with those guys, and if it's going to take longer than what they planned, then we need to figure out how we can move that money to work on another intersection. We need to move forward with fixing these intersections. We need to be careful about how we design them, but we absolutely have to work with DeKalb, and we can't just assume because they say they're going to hit a certain date that they're going to hit it. I mean, why did we become a city in the first place? Because they were promising things that they weren't delivering. So we need to be sure to keep an eye on that. I look forward to working, if I'm elected, I look forward to working closely with DeKalb to fix some of these issues.
I'll somewhat echo those comments. When we do a road project, the city of Dunwoody takes great care to make sure that we've replaced all of our stormwater pipes under that section of paving. Reason being, obviously, is you don't want to lay fresh asphalt and then have to come up and tear it up in the next few years. We're trying to do the same thing with DeKalb County when they put in their water and sanitary sewer lines as well. It's coordination, it's intergovernmental agreements, it's working well together. It's not Dunwoody versus DeKalb. It's doing what's right for the citizens, and it's just, good old-fashioned work, and needs to be done.
All right, this will be our final round of questions for each district, and we're starting to get near the end here. Still do District 1. I don't believe we've had a
parks question for your district yet. What is your vision for parks in Dunwoody now and in the future? Denny, you're first.
Okay, for District 1, my vision for the parks, we have some quality parks in District 1, and the one thing I want to make sure that we continue to do is to enhance those assets that we have. You know, those parks, I was on the negotiating committee, and the lowest price we got from DeKalb County, the last best offer was $5 million. We paid $16,700. Let's call it $17,000. We have the Dunwoody Nature Center over there. One of the things we did last year is we put around $250,000 in the budget for our parks, and every park could bid on it. Actually, we had money left over, believe that or not. But we've enhanced the ballparks immensely. We worked over Dunwoody Nature Center, and we're going to continue to work over there. As far as a project is concerned, is replacing the Nature Center building itself. That's important, but I think that will require a lot of private funds. You know, the Brook Run project is $7 million if we get it. It has to be used there. So I say in the meantime, we concentrate our money over there. In the Nature Center, and the Dunwoody Park itself is about 32 acres. So that's a lot of our parkland over there. It's really great for our kids, and we've enhanced it. If you haven't been over there recently, the Nature Center behind there. We've got walls down there, we've got walkways, we've got a lot of things that we've enhanced, and we will continue to enhance them. We need to enhance our parks, and we need to get our people in our parks.
Now to District 2, and I believe. Why am I? Give him some slack. All right, here. Go ahead.
First place, let me say this, okay? We got those parks at that price because the legislature stepped in, okay? That's what really happened. Now, we did get them for that price. My vision for parks, if I could just wave a wand, I'd have ball fields for the kids here. I mean, all kinds of things. But my vision is limited greatly by we're landlocked, and we only have so much land. Brook Run is an excellent place. I'd like to see possibly a senior center go in there where the hospital was. There was a theater. Let's fix it up and let's do community things. Let the high school use it. Okay? The vision has to be developed by the people of it. And these are things I'm hearing from the people I just shared with you. They're not original with me. So I say yes, parks are important and we need to keep going, and I agree with Mr. Shortal that we need to get them out into the parks, do things. I think that's right. So that's where I stand on it, and I thank you.
We'll give you 30 seconds to respond.
That wasn't a derogatory remark at all. It's just referring to me. You know, again, our parks are an asset for our community. And the one thing we have to do is keep them safe and keep people in our parks. And let me just tell you, the Nature Center, if you haven't been over there lately, you ought to come. If you've got grandkids like I do, bring them to the Nature Center and watch the good time they have. If not, bring your own kids over there. But for goodness sakes, let's use our facilities. They're fabulous, and we like our ball fields.
All right, thank you. I apologize for skipping you there. District 2. Here's a question for all three of you, but you have to be specific and answer both parts in a minute 30. And Jim, you're first. Please give an example of a good decision by the council in the last couple of years and a poor decision by the council. Jim, you're first.
I think a good decision would be the projects involved with getting lights synchronized. I mean, that's obviously a way to help the traffic flow in and around Dunwoody, and that's, you know, just a smart use of our money. You know, bad decision, you know, again, the wheel and deal is just a disaster. You know, it distracts the council and the staff from doing the work they should be doing in the city, and we're throwing in a lot of money building the roads, curbs, gutters, storm sewers, stormwater detention, financing the land for a real estate developer. The city should not be in the real estate development business, plain and simple.
One of the good things I'm very grateful for is all the sidewalks that we're actually creating in Dunwoody that we definitely need. They're leading to our schools like this one. That is fantastic. They're making it safer for our children to walk to school, and I think that's fantastic. I think we could use improvement on the communication. I'm a big believer in these town hall meetings. We got 4 coming up next year. I think that hopefully that will help us communicate on the issues as we move forward in our new cityhood, because this is a new adventure for us. We're just 5 years into this. So town hall meetings will probably help us get through the process of understanding how all this works, and I think that's one thing we can improve on. Thank you.
I think I would be in agreement that the Georgetown project in itself, just from everything that's gone on with it, from its conception to what it's turned into, it just wasn't really well thought out, and especially not taking into consideration some of the other areas down there. That particular plan, I just don't see as a good plan, and I don't see that as a good move by council. I would also say, though, I would agree the fact that we're taking steps to improve the traffic flow by synchronizing lights and by trying to get traffic moving through Dunwoody at a much more reasonable rate, I think is a wonderful step forward for our community.
Thank you. And District 3, one final question, I believe. Doug, you're first. As a council member, how can you support the growth of businesses in the community?
Well, I'll say I do support the growth of businesses in Dunwoody. I have a business in Dunwoody, so it would be hypocritical of me to say I don't support businesses in Dunwoody. As has been alluded by Don Boykin of the Chamber earlier, the business community pays the majority of the taxes in Dunwoody. The low rates that we enjoy on our property taxes are the result of the taxes that the businesses pay. My commercial property, I don't get a homestead exemption for that, as I do on my house. I've got to pay business license. I've got to pay various fees to the city. Businesses also create jobs. Businesses create reasons for people to come and to locate here. Businesses create reasons for people to stay, and they serve our citizens. So, you know, I'm all for the economic development that we've been a part of, and I hope we continue to do that. And I've been proud of what we've done.
I think the first thing we need to do is make sure we're staying out of their way. I think it's very important that the city be in communication with the business owners and understand that when they're causing difficulties for them. I'm kind of concerned about giving tax rebates to building owners to get tenants into those buildings. My concern is that it makes an unfair playing field. And I'm a free enterprise kind of guy, and I think that you know the real estate should work on the system should work on its own for the most part. You know, I think we need to stay out of the way. I think another thing that's important is the police have to, you know, like Perimeter Mall area is a perfect example. The police have to be involved in there and keep that place safe, because if we ever get to the point where crime gets so bad there that you're afraid when you leave the Apple store with a new iPad that you're going to get mugged, we're going to be in big trouble, and you know that can really get to be a big issue there around Perimeter Mall.
Thank you, sir. We're now going to our time for closing statements. We're going to reverse the process of how we did openings. So, Doug, you have about 1 minute.
1 minute. That's not a lot of time, but I'll try to be brief. Thank you all for coming in. Thank the Chamber for helping put this on, the Dunwoody Homeowners, and as always the Crier, who's been around for years and has been a pillar in the community. I'm Doug Thompson. I'm the current sitting city councilman in District 3. I think the best way to differentiate me from my opponent is I want everything to be great in this city. I think it's wonderful. I think we can make things better. To the extent we have a problem, let's solve it. We've got great nonprofits in this city. We've got great volunteers. We've got great citizens. There's no problem in Dunwoody that we can't solve. What concerns me is when people try to tear the city down. That hurts me. I don't get it. I never have gotten it.
Thank you, Inspector.
everybody coming out tonight. I know you have busy schedules. Thanks to the Dunwoody Homeowners Association, the choir, and everybody for putting this on. Look, I know that sometimes I'm a very positive person, and sometimes what I say may sound negative, but I think it's important that we understand what's going on in the city of Dunwoody, because yes, there are great things about Dunwoody. I said when I first opened, I love this place. I have no desire to live anywhere else. But we have to be honest with ourselves. There are issues, and my concern now is that we're not hearing those issues from the council. We're having to find them out through open records requests and things like that. I think it's very important for you guys to have somebody on the council who will look out for the best interests of the city and really listen to you guys and do the will of the people. Thank you very much.
I love this community as well. I think that's proven and through my decade of involvement in this community and in all these organizations I've been a part of. I think this election is really, for me, is positive collaboration versus negative criticism. I want to apply it in my decade of leadership, and I want to apply it from Georgetown all the way up to Dunwoody Club Forest for District 2. I want to take the negative out of the headlines and put it in the positive. We need to work together, and I think that's very key. Discontent is not leadership. Just look at Washington. I am the right choice for District 2, and my name's Heyward Wescott, and I'm running for District 2. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the sponsors, Tony and Dick, for your role in this, and especially to all of you for coming out tonight. I know everybody has busy schedules. This election is very important to Dunwoody. We're at a pivotal moment in the direction. It will determine the future of our city for many years to come. We must stop the tuning out of citizens. Nobody is negative about Dunwoody, but we are not pleased with the way many things are going, and we've got to change direction. Please vote to keep the character and charm of our high-quality residential community. We can follow the example of the Sproul farmhouse. Keep what we have, make it better, do it Dunwoody sensible. Most importantly, I will listen to you and hear you. I'm Jim Riticher, and I'd like your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Again, I would like to thank all of you for coming here tonight, because it's events like this where we can really see our government at work, especially the candidate selection process. But most importantly, I'd like to thank my wife, Leslie, who's been my rock through this grind of a campaign, and without you, this would have been a much lonelier adventure. So thank you very much for all of your support. And on November 5th, you've got the voters of District 2 have a great opportunity to pick from 3 very unique candidates up here. All of us bringing different attributes to the table. Before I got into aviation, I worked at the Ohio House of Representatives as a caucus aide to the Speaker, and I was a parliamentarian there, so I have government and legislative experience I can bring. I also, being in the aviation business, have private sector and working with the government on the other side. So I've also brought you tangible ideas, and I hope that we can at least discuss them. Thank you very much.
Well, my fellow citizens, I will promise you that I will continue to do what I tell you I do. I will not waffle. My goals are continually consistent with the goals of why we started this city. I will continue to be a strong, conservative voice on the council, keeping taxes low. I will protect the quality of life in our residential neighborhoods. I think that is being eroded. I will work for control of our schools, and I will work to keep the schools that we have in the current locations so they remain community schools. I will continue to implement a budget plan that improves our infrastructure across the entire spectrum of our city. And I will work for council approval to install sirens to protect our citizens in severe weather. I thank you for the trust that you have placed in me. And I tell you, I will diligently work hard to continue to earn that trust. Thank you.
on District 1, City Council. I have been here 28 years. I don't doubt anybody on this council as far as their character or their ethics. My point to you is this, okay? It's not what I tell you, it's what I do. So if you'll put me in there, you can look and talk to people that know me, and if there's one thing they will all be consistent on, I do what I say I'll do. Now, the people have not been listened to, the ones I'm talking to. And I'm trying to go to every door. I said it at the last forum, and I will say it now. If you're happy with the city, because we're going against things does not mean we're criticizing the city of Dunwoody. What you do is you put them back in because that rewards them for what they're doing. If you're not satisfied and think it can be better, then your choice is right here. Thank you.
You guys can all breathe now. We're done. Thank you all for coming tonight. We have been videotaping this evening's forum, and Mr. Richard Williams has done it in the past, and we will get it up on the Dunwoody Homeowners Association website as soon as we can. And of course, you can read about it in Crier.
Well, and also, in keeping with the video theme, we're the old school. We're print. But I see John Hennigan down here, my biggest competitor. I guess you'll have it posted too, right, John? But as John told me once, I own the driveways. That's a good thing. We failed to introduce Jerry Penn, our timekeeper, a longtime stalwart of the DHA. Jerry did a great job. And my thanks again to WSB TV's Action News guy. Are we at the late, what's the late night one called? You can spit it out. Night Beat. So Tony Thomas is on the Night Beat for us tonight. We appreciate your efforts, Tony. And especially, thank you to all the candidates who did a great job, and I mean that. This is democracy in action, and we appreciate it. Tom Boyd, anything you want to say?
Thank you again, and the Chamber is pleased to be part of this whole organization.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.